your relationship with food? Because obviously you compete, you know, and I've found it very... relationship with food has always, I think, obviously since I've been conscious of it, so maybe from like 17, for myself, has always been relatively bad. I've improved as I've gotten older, but how is your relationship with food? And, you know, maybe from when you started being super conscious of it to maybe where you are now?
I've never been conscious with food. Growing up, like, I'm a foodie. I love food. I love trying new stuff all the time. And growing up, it's never been something that I consciously thought of. If my dad tried something, I'd have it with him. Going into high school, my brother's younger than me, but he was the athletic one. So he had abs year round. He could eat whatever he wanted, but he's just genetically, I don't know whose genetics he got, but genetically he was better in terms of staying lean. And I got the skinny fat genetics. So when I ate food, you saw that I was eating food. And that kind of played on my mind. And my dad and I did a transformation challenge I was in matric, so I was 17. And since then, in that challenge, it was fine. I didn't have any issues. I didn't have any binge eating because I'd make sandwiches for lunch. I'd have chicken and rice if I needed it.
What was the challenge?
It was a USN body makeover challenge.
Okay. So was it to just maybe like improve body recomposition, or was it to get shredded? Yes. Or
it was more to how much. So the way that they marketed it was how much body fat can you lose in 12 weeks by using our products and following this plan. But the way that we did it, because we incorporated a lot of strength training, and my dad used to train with his sister. His sister was an IFBB athlete, and she represented SA in Italy many years ago.
So was that your first introduction into bodybuilding?
That was my first seeing my dad training in primary school. That was where I was introduced to bodybuilding, because my dad would train. But it wasn't really bodybuilding. It was like, cool, my dad's going to the gym to lift weights. But then in matric, that's when bodybuilding was introduced, because it's always been a goal of my dad's to step on stage. And watching him go through the process after that challenge that we did together, we both lost weight. It was great. I was fine, ate whatever I wanted to eat, but that's when I became conscious of portion control. He went the extreme then, got a coach, one of our friends. I don't know if you know him, Keenan. He used to run the Chrome stores. Back in the day. Yeah. So he helped my dad get through his first bodybuilding show, which was INBA, a national federation. He did really well, loved it. And when I saw what you could do to the body by manipulating food to the T, I got addicted to that. Like, okay, cool. So if I remove this, I can get even leaner. Or if I added this, I could grow. And then I took the following year. So this was 2016. I took the year off to eat. But then I became obsessed, because then I started watching more videos on bodybuilding. I started obsessing over how much food can I get in.
Eating videos, yeah.
How much food can you get in, stay clean, what a cheat meal was, understanding what that process was. And that kind of, I would say that ruined my relationship with food, to be honest with you. When I got a bodybuilding coach who didn't, the plan was so set and structured that if you deviated from it, you would see it immediately, freak out, and then you jump back on the plan. And that messed me up. So going into my first bodybuilding show, where four out of 7 meals were fish and rice or fish and salad, to binge eating on a Saturday where I was given 2 hours to eat whatever I wanted. And then you finish the show and you're like, okay, there's no more goal. Now what? So now you don't know what to do. Yes, there might be a reverse diet in place, but at that point, you're so hungry.
It's way more difficult to follow a reverse diet unless you've got a show maybe in like 6 weeks after that.
Exactly.
But if there's no immediate goal after the show, you're like, well, what reason is there for me to actually follow this plan, especially because you've been so strict before leading up to the show?
Exactly. Like I couldn't have said it any better. There was no plan. There was no goal. I was a student at the time, so I couldn't really afford a coach. So I tried to learn as much as what I could, and I did a course, and I kind of understood how to prep yourself for a show. And in this course, I saw guys eating apples. I saw guys eating fruit salads, granola, having not fish only, but they'd have fish, chicken, steak. So they had a variety, and they still went out and ate with people. And when I saw that, it kind of messed with my mind even more, because I would still see guys like Chris Bumstead or Jay Cutler slamming down those meals. You know the famous video of him just eating food and saying
like eating
that,
it out of ice cream tubs.
That was me.
Yeah.
That was basically me. My friends used to tease me in high school because some of the meals that I took were like chicken stir fries or chicken, broccoli and rice. And they tease me and they'd be like, "Oh, you Brock Lesnar with your broccoli and chicken and rice." But
so to digress,
yes.
to stay on that point in terms of your friends and all of that, because
Yes.
I remember at varsity, I used to always, it was my Fitmark lunchbox.
Yes.
Walk to varsity, because I was also at that stage bulking. So I would have, while I was at varsity for like, let's say a 5-hour period, I would have maybe 2 meals where it's a massive Tupperware rice and mince. And
Yes.
people used to see me eating it. And I remember, because we became friends afterwards, but they used to say like, they would see me eating alone. They would see me eating these massive meals. And they would think it looked so stupid, or they
Yes.
didn't see the vision that I was planning there. You know, obviously, and your friends, even though it's friendly banter remarks,
Yeah.
it's still sometimes like, it's a little bit like, bro, why can't you just support me? Or you don't understand. But it does take its toll slightly when people just look down
Yeah.
on you for doing something, especially when it's for health-ish purposes. Like, it's not unhealthy to bulk.
Yes.
Depends how you do it. Obviously,
Yes.
you know, but eating a large amount of food when it's clean food isn't unhealthy. So it's difficult when people look down on that or, you know, tune you a little bit for doing that. This episode, just like every other episode, is sponsored by Dis-Chem Living Fit. Grab the Living Fit mag with a wide range of fitness, health, bunch of topics that you can learn from, glean, gain information, get new awareness on new styles of training, supplementation, and you can learn a lot. So grab your Dis-Chem Living Fit mag at your nearest Dis-Chem near you.
I completely agree, but for me, it comes more with family. My dad, like I said, my dad competed, and my mom and my brother weren't competing. So in the house, it was me prepping meals for myself and my dad, or my dad prepping for us. When we went to weddings or family outings and stuff like that, I'd carry my lunchbox with me. And they'd be like, "Oh, just one taste. Don't you want to have a slice of this, slice of that?" And for the first year, it was that whole, "Why are you doing this? It's stupid. Just eat food. Like, you're restricting yourself. This is dumb." And same thing in varsity. I'd carry my lunch bag with me. I'd walk from one campus to the next, sit in the lecture because now I'm late and I'd have to still get a meal in. So I'd open up my fish, broccoli and rice and have that meal there. So you get into that routine of, I don't really care what people think. I'm going to do what I need to do. Regardless of whether it's healthy or not, I'm just going to do what I need to do. So that also probably ruined my relationship with food a bit, where now if I missed a meal, I'll give you an example. We did a shoot on yesterday, and I had breakfast at about 9. Shoot was at 10. Usually I'm supposed to have a meal about 11:30 again. I couldn't have that meal until about 1. So I had my meal at 1. I was sitting at the gym, had a meal, carried on working. An hour later, had another meal that was that little snack gap, and then waited 30 minutes for everything to digest. I felt good, so I trained. Previously, I'd freak out. I'd be like, "Oh, I just ruined the day," and then I binge. Then the plan's out the window and I binge. Now I look at it and I'm like, okay, you have this many calories in the day. This is your macros. You've prepped your meals for the day, so you're going to stick to that. Doesn't matter when you get it in. Obviously, I'm not going to fast the whole day, because for me, not that fasting is bad, but for me, how much muscle can I maximize?
Yeah, no, fasting doesn't create the most anabolic muscle building environment.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's where I understand the difference now. It's like, it's one meal. Yes, I'm hungry and I might
it's
be
like
moody.
2 hours. It's not the end of the world.
Exactly.
It's not like it's 16 hours.
Exactly. So that's where my relationship changed. But it took me forever. My last show, so last year was my first show since 2019. From 2019 till 2020, the beginning of 2023, I hadn't thought of dieting. I hadn't thought of bulking. And it was just completely out the window. It was, I'm going to train and get back to what I actually love doing, which was training and manipulating my body. Whether that's going out with friends and having a burger on a Saturday and Sunday and Monday, cool. The rest of the week, I'm going to behave where I understand portion control again. I understand that if I have too much carbohydrates for my body type doesn't like it based on the training that I was doing. Right now, my body doesn't like too much fats. based on the training that I'm doing. So I understand where to manipulate it. And
it's also that process of, and it's difficult to really learn your body, because if you incorporating a lot of carbs in your body and it starts to adjust to it and handle those carbs,
yes,
then maybe you change your diet. A day or two later, you can't expect your body to respond to those fats when you've reduced the carbs. It does take a little bit of time to be able to, you know, almost reach homeostasis of knowing, okay, I'm not really getting carbs, so I'm going to use the fat more as energy.
Yes.
But it's that transitional phase where your body has to adapt.
Yes. And I didn't let it do that in the past because of how I want to say taught, because a coach should teach you.
No, but the coaching methods back then were far more on, you have to have a meal every 2 hours, or you have to do this before gym, you have to do this.
Yes.
And I think science has, or at least the bodybuilding community has at least evolved a little bit more to see that, you know, the 30-second post-workout shake doesn't actually have to happen. And fortunately, through experience, we ourselves have seen that, but also coaches, you know, are not forcing their clients, the moment they get into the change room, shake that shake and drink it. Like times have changed a bit, which is fortunate.
And as much as what I agree, I also find that there is a balancing act. That if you are a hybrid athlete, for example, you might not need a coach, but someone else that's embarking on a journey like that, the plan you created is to teach people how to understand their body, how to eat based on their body. It's not follow this plan to a T and you're going to look like me or perform like me. It's these are the principles. This is what I did, and this is an example for you to follow, but you got to figure things out for yourself. And I think that's what coaching back in the day allowed me to do, because if I didn't go through that, I wouldn't understand now that it's okay to miss that meal, but I'm not going to miss it for 5-6 hours. 2 hours, I'm going to have it, and then an hour and a half later, I might have another one, because I am still hungry in that period. I do still have that window to digest that meal, and I understand what foods I can put in my body to digest faster, or if I'm not training and it's a rest day, slower. So,
and you're more mature to not base your entire life around bodybuilding.
Yes.
So you've now become more mature to be like, okay, well, I'm not going to be late for my meeting just so that I can get a meal in. Like if I'm running late and I need to be at that meeting, I will just have to eat later, and that's a fact, because my job and work does come before bodybuilding at times, and it's not going to be, that meeting is not going to be detrimental to your bodybuilding career. Like it's 1 or 2 hours that you might be offset. It's not the end of the world.
Exactly. And yes, if you want to be the best of the best, you have to tick those boxes. You have to eat the 2-3 hours.
But the best of the best lives are 100% revolved around the competing.
Exactly.
And it's not really practical for us, even some pros, to be able to do that.
You have to put food on the table at the end of the day. You have bills to pay. And I get that, like, that's the nice thing about being in the environment I am with Matt and Pro Physique, is that they want you to be the best of the best, but in the parameters of your life. So they won't ever push you to the extent where you burnt out or mentally you are so screwed that you can't actually get on stage.
It's counterintuitive to your progress anyway.
Exactly. And they understand that. And because they understand that, I align really well with them. And I'm able to manipulate my life around bodybuilding and bodybuilding around my life. So they can interchange when needs be. Like 4 weeks out, I'm going to do everything in my power to tick every single box.
You will structure your life a little bit more around the competition.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But now I'm so far out. We may do a show in 9 weeks or 8 and a bit weeks, but we're definitely doing a show in 18 weeks, and that's provincials. I want to get qualified to essays again. Last year I wasn't able to do it. I qualified for essays, but it just, like I said, life happened. I wasn't able to compete at essay champs. This year I want to. I want to get my Gauteng colors. I want to be able to stand on that essay stage. So for me right now, food, if I go out with friends, I understand that I can take a scale with. I can weigh 200 grams of fillet steak. I can weigh a baked potato, and I can weigh some salad. I might not track the salad because I don't really track micronutrients.
Yeah, it's negligible. Yeah.
And my job, I'm moving, I'm very busy. So it is extremely negligible at that point. But I am going to track the big macros. And I can have that baked potato. I won't have the butter and the sour cream because, like I said, at this point, my body's acclimatized to more carbohydrates. But I'll have that food.
But also your body, even if it is acclimatized to fat, it's not acclimatized to those types of fats.
Yes.
So for myself as well, even though I have lots of fat in my diet, I won't allow myself the fat. Like let's say it's the steak and the potato, and they're going to melt butter on it. I'll just negate that, but maybe have the olives on the side because my body's used to olives, but it's not used to butter and not used to like cream and that kind of stuff. So yes my body is used to fat, but it's not used to those types of fat. So my body won't be able to respond as well.
But also digestion. And that's a big thing that my whole relationship with food was, it was bad. My relationship with food was bad. And because it was bad, my digestion was bad. My gut health was bad. And that break that I had allowed me to reset. And where I am now, I understand, like I track my digestion every day. So we understand, okay, that amount of carbohydrates is working, or, okay, cool, your GI is distressed at the moment. Maybe you're not getting enough fiber. So let's try increase some things here and there. So just understanding that has helped my digestive system. And like you said, I'm not going to go to a restaurant and have butter or cream cheese because I know that that's not going to work for me. But I might have avo because it's got fiber, it's healthy fats, and I understand how to do that. You eat
avo on your normal day in a diet anyway, so your body knows what it is.
Exactly.
And that's also an interesting thing. I've actually lost what I was going to say. I was going to say, what are you talking about? You're talking about the fats,
yes.
The eating at restaurants.
Going out with friends.
The gut health, yes. That's what it was. And most people don't understand how important gut health is for weight loss and for the anabolic system in your body.
Yeah.
Gut health is so important, even for just happiness, general happiness. I mean, everyone knows when you've got the runs or if you have maybe had too much fiber and you're constipated or whatever, you don't feel as good. You don't feel great when your gut isn't feeling good. You
can't perform at your best. You probably won't even go out running or cycling if you don't feel great.
I had that question someone asked me yesterday. He said, like, do you eat pizza or whatever before a run? And it's not because of the calories or any of that stuff that I don't eat the pizza before I run. It's because I know my stomach is never 100% firing on all cylinders if I have pizza.
Yes.
So I'm not going to do that just before a race. Then I'm going to need the bathroom on the run or whatever. So it has nothing to do with the calories in that sense. I'll have the pizza afterwards because if my stomach's a little bit messed up, it's not the end of the world because the race is done. But my stomach does get messed up, and then maybe you wake up the next day and everyone sees it. They feel slightly more negative. The worse you feel in your gut, the less fat you're going to be able to burn, the less your hormones are going to be working, and you're just not going to feel as good.
I completely agree. Like, I think bringing back to the whole relationship with food and current bodybuilding, when you said that coaches and science we've progressed in the sense that you don't need to be strict. I think you do need to be strict on yourself if you know that today I need to eat 2,000 calories and it doesn't matter where those 2,000 calories come from. If you're in that camp, you're not a bodybuilder in the sense that you're going to go stand on stage. If you understand that I have 2,000 calories and I'm going to break it down into these macronutrients, maybe 200 grams of protein, 40 grams of fats, and fill the rest with carbohydrates, it's a little easier to manipulate and play with things, but you still have your, like I said, I'll prep my meals for the day based on those macros. And 5 days of the week, that's consistent. On the weekend, if I'm busy or if I'm going out with friends, that might change slightly, but I'm never going to stray from those macronutrients. But then you get to the point where you have to be strict. You have to understand that, yes, I'm on it if it fits your macros, or I'm counting my calories. Like you said, a pizza is a pizza. And if I had a pizza 4 weeks out, cool, that might be one meal of my day, but then I'm not having anything else. But did I hit my protein goal? Did I hit my carb goal? I'm way over my fats, clearly. And yes, it might not affect my physique, but it's affected my gut health. It's affected my skin texture. So I might not look fat, but I'm not as full. My skin texture is a little bit watery. And my digestion is completely out of it. So the next 3 days I'm playing catch up. In that sense, I feel that you need to be strict. You need the whole, here's your plan, follow it. Until you get to the point where you've competed, you've slowly reversed, introduced things slowly, stuck to your calories, stuck to your macros. and now you can have some fun. Now you can play.
You made a valuable point in the sense of your skin and your gut health and everything in terms of having a pizza, even though it met your calories. Because with flexible dieting, and I'd like to know your view, but I don't think flexible dieting should be that flexible that, okay, you've got 2,000 calories. Let's say half of those calories, 1,000 calories in your day, you're going to allocate to carbs. So you have Fruit Loops and you have sweets or whatever. You've still only got 1,000 calories. So you haven't got over your calories in your carb allowance. But as you mentioned, your gut health isn't going to be great. Your skin might not be as good. I always know when I have more sugar in my diet, the next day I sweat when I train like crazy because your body just wants to get rid of it. So I'm all for flexible dieting, but not to the extent where, okay, well, I've got 1,000 calories to play with this evening. Let me get 3 Krispy Kreme donuts and, a tablespoon of peanut butter or whatever. That's 1,000 calories. Cool. I've met my allowance. Your body isn't going to, like a calorie is not a calorie. Like a gram of carbs from rice is not the same as a gram of carbs from jelly tots.
I 100% agree. And we actually had this debate the other day in the gym where guys in the off season, obviously you want to eat as much clean food as you possibly can. And let's say you have 600 grams of carbohydrates to hit for the day. Clean food, that's a lot of food. That's 500 grams of rice a meal. Or it's 120 grams of oats for breakfast, your fiber has started to shoot up. So now again, your gut's being affected. In those situations, flexible dieting, I feel, works really well because then understanding your body in those senses and like, okay, I'm not going to digest 500 grams of rice. 300 works and I'm already pushing the envelope there. So let me introduce a sugar monster pre-workout. I'm going to get the 20, 30 grams of carbs from that. I'm going to have a nice pump. The carbohydrates are in the muscle. I'm looking fuller. I feel better. And now I've ticked my macros. So that's where I feel that the flexible dieting allows flexibility. But I'm not going to be like, okay, I've only had 1,000 calories. I need to hit 3,000 to hit my total now. I'm going to go out for pizza because I haven't hit my protein. There's no nutritional value there. Yes, you're getting a little bit of protein, processed cheese. You're getting in a whole bunch of unnecessary yeast and stuff like that, which your body might not want to digest. My brother, on the other hand, he'll be fine, but I don't have those genetics. You might not have those genetics too. So if you want performance, flexible dieting can work, but you need to be strict on yourself.
My only pushback slightly on your monster thing is your body's not going to spike your insulin as much from cleaner carbs.
Okay.
So the more sugar you have, like let's say you're bulking, you're in a surplus, your body's prone to putting on fat anyway.
Yes.
So if you incorporate sugary alternatives to a healthy carb, your insulin is going to spike and your body might not, use it as well and effectively. So that's why my only issue with, and I'm not saying I have an issue with it because I don't do it. I mean, I definitely incorporate the more unhealthier carbs into my diet when I am being more flexible. I won't detest, and that's a fact. But your body definitely, like let's say, okay, you've got either you can have 100 grams of oats or you can have like 95 grams of Fruit Loops. You're off season. It's not the end of the world if you have the sugar, but your insulin and your body is going to spike a lot more when you have like the Fruit Loops. Yes, it can create a slightly more anabolic environment, or it could be digested quicker, all of those kind of things that maybe the faster acting carbs can do.
Yes.
But I feel in terms of mitigating fat gain, it might not be as, productive on a bulk, because everyone knows once you get too fat, you start to actually lose muscle when you're bulking. So that's my only pushback in the sense like the monster.
Yes.
I would say maybe have like a banana because it's slightly less yes, there's like 20 grams of sugar in a banana, but it's slightly less. There's slightly less preservatives than like the monster. There's slightly less of those things that are going to affect you a little bit more.
True. And
so that's my only thing is in terms of like the insulin spike with different types of carbs.
I completely agree. And obviously it's person dependent. I won't be having sugar monsters all the time, but
off season, 20 weeks out, whatever.
Not even 20 weeks out. If in my off season, yes, but like,
okay, reducing calories week by week, no.
Yes.
But if you're building up, let's say.
If I'm building up, like I'll get, when was it? December. So December the 19th, that week, that was the peak of our off season. I was going on holiday after that. So I still hit my macros, and you try and be as strict as possible when you're on holiday, but you also want to have fun and relax and kind of reset for the next season. But we got to 580, 600 grams of carbs a day. 90% of that was
amount of carbs.
It's a lot of food.
Yeah.
And 90% of that was clean. 90% of that came from oats, bananas, sweet potato, rice. I had a lot of sourdough bread. I love sourdough bread. Toast and eggs are probably my favorite meal in the off season. And cream of rice was a big one. But I got to the point where I felt really bloated from eating. I was eating 150 grams of oats a day.
I think it's also because you can't eat those amount of carbs without getting a lot of fiber. Like, it's just impossible.
Exactly. So what I did is I had 60 grams of oats, and then I filled the gap with Rice Krispies, which is puffed rice. It doesn't have as much preservatives in. And if I didn't have Rice Krispies, I might have had Fruit Loops every now and then. But it wasn't a thing to replace the clean. It was to assist the clean.
And also it will help a little bit more because there will be less fiber in that. So you might actually feel a little bit less bloated, and also you don't have to at that stage be thinking about trying to avoid as much fat gain.
Exactly. You get the clean, you get a little bit of assistance from the insulin spike with the not so clean, the processed carbs, as people say. So if I forgot my intra workout at home because I was rushing from a shoot straight to the gym, then I'd have that sugar monster because I know that in my workout I need to get in 20, 30 grams of carbs. I'm not going to go to Dis-Chem or wherever just to buy another intra workout to get in the maltodextrin or cyclic dextrin. I'm going to have the dextrose that's in the monster. I'm going to have that fast acting sugar, and it's okay, but it's not an everyday thing. So that's where the flexibility helped. And that's where I found that my relationship actually improved, where I was okay with having the sugar because I'm sugar free all the way. But today needs that. I need to have that sugar. I need to get in my carbohydrates because tonight I'm not going to be able to hit 300 grams of sweet potato on top of what I'm supposed to have to meet my goal, for example.
I'll tell you about my improvement with my, association with food and my, my growth since competing. Now, and it's a slippery slope. It's kind of like a tightrope you have to walk Now, if I had to, let's say, okay, Saturday, Jesser, you're allowed to have a pizza or a burger or whatever. Like you've got an allocated cheat meal on a Saturday. Wednesday night comes and let's say I give in. I have the pizza, whatever. Previously, on Thursday morning, I would, hate myself, degrade myself, look at myself and be like, you're pathetic, you can't even diet. And that's super negative. Any detrimental thoughts to yourself are negative. So now it's, okay, you made a mistake. You are human. You can't be perfect because my goal is always to try be the most perfect human. And then when I fall short of my own expectations, I beat myself up for it. And then it's actually even more negative than, actually just looking at it and be like, oh, I'm human. You know what? I'm human. You made a mistake, but now you own up for that mistake and you're not allowed that meal on Saturday. Like, you're human. It's okay to make mistakes. All humans make mistakes. But now just get back on the plan. You've taken your allocated cheat meal for the week, and now on Saturday you're not allowed it. But it's okay. Yeah. As opposed to beating myself up for it.
I think I used to do the exact same, where I'd have the cheat meal, let's say the first 12 weeks of a diet, because I like to diet pretty long. It's easier. You don't drop your calories as fast. So the first 12 weeks were fine. Dieting is easy. Your food is still pretty high. You don't need that cheat meal. I'd still be able to go out with my fiance. We go out to Turn and Tender, have a sweet potato fries. I track it in. Yes, there's a little bit of extra fats in there. That's fine. We'll track it in. It's cool. And then the last 12 weeks of the prep, then you flip the switch and you're like, cool. Like, I'm strict. I'm not allowed a cheat meal this week. Wednesday, if I broke, okay, now what? And in the past, I'd be like, you need to do 3 hours of cardio to burn that off. Now I look at it and I'm like, You messed up, you're human, it's cool, carry on going. Note it down.
You told me a story, I actually want you to talk about it, where like you would eat the box of cereal or whatever.
Yeah, that was rough. So that I think it was I was in varsity, so it would have been my first show. I was 2 weeks post-show, so I stuck the best that I could to that reverse diet. And I had varsity at about 8:30. So I get to, I do my cardio in the morning. I had my routine. I stuck to it. It was cool. Had my breakfast. It was usually oats and eggs. Back then I loved oats and eggs. Now I do the sourdough. Get to campus, have my lectures till about 10. No lectures after that. So I'd go home, I'd do a project or I'd work on something. Before I got home, I'd go to Spa. I'd look at the variety of international cereals. Today I pick Cinnamon Toast Crunch. I'd finish that box.
Good cereal, bro.
It's great.
Yeah,
it was great.
It is nice.
I thought it was a demon back then. Now I look at it and I'm like, 50 gram serving is not that bad. I can have it today if I'm craving that crunch. But then I'd have the whole box. I wouldn't have the 50 grams. I'd have the whole box. I'd bring our Orbitrek because my dad had an Orbitrek back then. I'd bring it into the house, put on a lecture or a tutorial that I was watching on YouTube, and I'd do an hours of cardio till that tutorial was finished. Sit down, start my assignment, and then be like, oh, I just did cardio. I need to have a meal. I'd go have a clean meal. Now I'm hungry because now my insulin spiked. What else is there? I'd finish a tub of peanut butter and about 200 grams of oats easily, and then I'd feel bad. So once that digested, back on that Orbitrek, another tutorial hour. I probably did 3 to 5 hours of cardio a day for 5 days with binge eating in between. And that's where I knew I had a problem. That's when I took a break and I had to reset before the next show. I knew that I'm gonna ruin my gut health. I'm gonna ruin my heart health. There's a whole bunch of issues that I can get from this. And most of all, I had a mental issue. I spoke to my dad about it, and my dad was prepping for the Arnold Classic at the time. So he was just like, listen, you just got to get back on plan. You got to snap out of it. There's nothing that anyone can do to help you right now. You need to understand what you're doing wrong and just move on.
I think that's the biggest thing with dieting is no one's, like, as your dad mentioned, it's up to you. You got an unhealthy relationship with food right now. It's something you're going to have to deal with. It's something that you are going to have to just be man enough to say, I've got a problem. I need to deal with this. And my desire to not give in to that temptation needs to be stronger than the pleasure, the feeling of pleasure you get after the meal or during the meal at least. Because the moment you're done, you don't feel great.
But then my question to you is, did bodybuilding ruin that for you? Or was that just general eating that ruined that for you?
I wouldn't say, I don't blame bodybuilding. I blame myself. So I blame myself in the sense that, like, when I finished when I said I was going to finish competing, I was always thinking, what are people going to think? Or what if I lose a little bit of muscle? What are people going to think? When I was dieting for a show, it was, I want people to think Jesse's the most lean guy around. When I was competing, I want people to think that Jesse is the most structured on his diet. Jesse is, he goes above and beyond. His conditioning is always the best. And it was always super egotistical. So it was always based on other people's opinion because I wanted to be perceived as this amazing athlete or have an amazing body. And competing obviously allowed my ego to constantly have those thoughts. Like, it's not bodybuilding's fault. It's my fault within that environment to allow myself to be run by thinking, what are other people going to think of me?
Seeking that validation.
Yeah, it was seeking that validation. And then obviously when I would give in to temptation and have a cheat meal or whatever, I hated myself for it because I wasn't living up to the expectations I wanted other people to see. So it was, I'm almost like a fraud. You're putting this persona out there that, dieting is the way, clean eating is the way, looking your best always is the way, whereas you're not actually adhering to that as much. Like, I mean, when I was competing, I did post a lot about my cheat meals and stuff, so it wasn't like I was pretending I wasn't having them. So people did see that, but it was sometimes I knew I shouldn't be having a cheat meal, and I would have it. Like those cheat meals maybe that I posted or whatever, maybe in that time of prep, maybe they were more frequent or they were allocated, but the ones that maybe I didn't post about, or the ones that, you know, when you're alone and you fall into that temptation, then you start beating yourself up for it because it's like, I'm so weak. How am I giving into this temptation? So I think it was just my mindset of wanting to try meet the standard. And then when I saw I couldn't meet the standard, beating myself up for it.
And that's changed obviously now with the whole hybrid approach.
Yeah. So now, and it's not actually even the hybrid approach, because I think if I was competing, I would be my mindset would have still shifted, because now I'm doing it not to look good for other people or to have other people look at me and be like, Jesse's always lean or Jesse looks great. Now it's difficult because I actually wanted to get into that. I'll segue there just now. But now it's kind of just, you know, if you want to do something, and I think also actually no, more the growth was eating now for how I feel. Okay. Whereas previously it was just eating to look good. Okay. So now it's because of the hybrid training, it changed from what I ate yesterday. Do I feel good today on this morning run? Like, do I feel bad? Do I feel good? So, and eating for how I feel has helped me to look better. So obviously with competing or whatever, and with gym, it's slightly easier to not feel great and still gym. Mm-hmm. Like if your stomach isn't feeling super healthy, you can still train. Like maybe not like hectic squats and stuff, but you can still go train arms if your gut health isn't amazing. Whereas if I'm going and running, like I can't need the toilet. Like in the gym, if you need to quickly run to the bathroom, you can go do it. Yeah. So now I'm almost forced to maximize how I feel, and in changing my nutrition for, okay, what are the foods that work for me? What makes me feel my best? And going for foods that make me feel my best, make me look, I wouldn't say look my best, because I do have, also my best is so subjective to what I view myself as, but it has allowed me to stay relatively lean all the time. It's allowed me to perform not super strong in the gym, but like I'm not really fazed about that as much. Yeah. But eating for how I feel has definitely helped me get more of a healthy way around, you know, the food.
Okay. I think that's also one of the reasons that I'm able to eat more carbohydrates now, because back then I probably had maybe 200, 250, and that's the max. If I went anything more than that, I always felt that I was overweight. I always felt that I was putting on too much fat. My training back then was very volume-based, very 4 sets, 12 to 15 reps for everything. So I probably overtrained and my body didn't respond well to that. Whereas now, my strength is through the roof. Performance in the gym is a lot better. But like you said, I'm choosing foods that make me feel good. And yes, maybe one day I chose a food that didn't digest well, my gut isn't feeling great. I can still go have the workout. I won't perform as well, but I'll still go and have the workout and tick that box. I'll just retrace what I ate, not eat it again, and I'm back on track.
And I think that's what's important in terms of training for how you feel and to maximize performance. So if we look at your brother, contrast to you, your brother maybe can stay relatively lean and his body can handle maybe more sugar or whatever in his diet, and he doesn't wake up holding water, whereas you might if you had to have more sugar. So his body, for how he feels, he can maybe have a bit more carbs in his diet, and he can still see the same results as maybe you, who then has to unfortunately not have more sugar in his diet. So that's also, I think you need to look at yourself and test out these methods, because like when you watch people on social media talking about all these things, it's like this guy's saying sourdough's bad, this guy's saying eggs are terrible, this guy's saying only eat mince
and vegetables.
Yeah, like where do I go? So that's why you have to test what works for you. So I know personally, like with cheese, I can have feta, obviously not an exorbitant amount, but I can have feta in my diet and my body responds well to it, but I can't have like cheddar or those kind of things. Okay. So I know as a fat source today, if the avo's not ripe, let's say, I can have feta. That's okay. Yes. My body I don't wake up putting on weight. Whereas if I had to maybe get the fat source from milk or whatever, then my body would hold more water the next day, and I'll get the runs even, like whatever. So I've seen certain foods do help me. And I think that's what we also need to get to a point, even with competing.
Yeah.
Is, okay, well, my body does handle sugar better. Okay, no, my body doesn't handle sugar better. So then just working for how you feel and testing different foods then allows you, because even with bodybuilding, if you eat for how you feel, obviously within your calories, as opposed to eating for what social media people say or what a particular coach might have said back in the day, isn't maybe as effective. Whereas if you're eating for, okay, I know my gut health is great, I know I'm going to have strength in the gym, I know all of these things, your body then will, because you feel good, then be burning fat better. It will be, the blood flow will be better, all of those things. And it's not always, you know, as we've seen, and that's why luckily coaches have changed the way they incorporate dieting. It's not chicken, broccoli and rice every meal. It's because some people's body responds differently to different things. And not every meat is the same, not every carb is the same, but they can be at times interchangeable.
So the thing with that is like I said, I was stuck with 4 meals of fish. When I tried to introduce more, it was hake. Horrible. You start smelling like hake.
Yeah.
I started to introduce chicken again. I started to introduce beef, trying different cuts, fillet or mincing rump. Like that's what we're doing recently is like we go to the butcher, ask them to mince rump. Yes, they cut the fat off because we're in a prep at the moment, but I'll do rump burgers instead of regular lean beef burgers because it's just as lean, but now it's the steak that I would have eaten as a burger patty. So we're trying different things and it's not affecting our gut health too much, but I'm still hitting my protein goal, I'm still hitting my fat goal, I'm still hitting my carb goal. Nothing changed.
And you get more satisfaction as opposed to eating
the variety.
Maybe double the amount of hake, but it's still gross.
Exactly. Last prep, I had a burger every night, right up until peak week.
When you say burger, for maybe if people watching, just specify
an actual hamburger bun.
But it wasn't like steers.
No,
it was homemade.
It was homemade, extra lean beef mince. Like I said, we minced the rump steaks, and then you made a patty, like an actual steers looking patty. But it would be a hamburger bun, lettuce, tomato, cucumber, a sweet chili sauce from Lifestyle Foods. It's like virtually 0 calories.
Yeah, sweet chili sauce is a great sauce. I love sweet chili because it tastes amazing. It tastes sweet, and it's not as calorie dense as other sauces.
It's not as calorie dense. So you find things that work. It's a great tasting burger because you made it. I'd put it on the braai, so I'd make a couple, and then I'd meal prep that. And you'd have a fresh hamburger bun with, you cut a potato, or you have, McCain has the low-fat skinny fries. You have that, 100 grams of that is quite a lot after it's air fried. So I had that, and I got down to really, really low body fat percentages. I didn't measure it this time, but it was very low, and I probably looked the best. I felt the best. I didn't have any issues post-show. I didn't binge whatsoever. After the show, I had steak and chips. I was craving actual greasy chips because I haven't had them in a while. We went to Thundergun with my parents. I had steak and chips. I had 1.5 donuts. I shared it with my fiance. Before, I'd have 12 donuts. So I'd have the steak and chips, 12 donuts all by myself, ice cream, etc., etc.
Getting away from that binge afterwards.
Yeah.
Is it because of the slightly more flexible way the prep was that then you didn't think like, oh, haven't had a burger in 12 weeks. I better eat a burger and 12 Krispy Kreme or whatever.
100%.
Whereas now, where it's like, okay, you know, you've got 360 calories. It's okay if there's slightly more sugar in that 360 calories as opposed to the previous method of no sugar, no nothing for the next 12 weeks, and then you binge after.
100%. Like, if I didn't do the flexible dieting because I hadn't competed for 3-4 years, getting back into it, if I went straight back into 4 meals of hake, I probably would have rebounded again. I would have binged. My fiance would have thought, if this is what bodybuilding is like, I do not want to step on stage. I do not want to compete. She would have seen a really moody Craig. And that's the thing about the foods and the variety. It's, we don't know what there's people out there and coaches out there. Amino acids break down, foods break down, they have a hormone effect on your body. Those hormones create moods. It has an effect on your livelihood. That restriction has an effect on your livelihood. So restricting to a specific food group and limiting it to such a point that you lash out at people.
Yeah, it's almost about efficiency. What's more efficient? To completely mitigate all carbs and all fat from a prep, and then you relapse afterwards? Or is it more efficient to incorporate a slightly more flexible plan so that you can still see the same results and then not relapse? I think it's all about efficiency.
Yeah.
What's more efficient? What's more effective for the goals that I want to get? And that's the same as like a rest day, all of those things. Like, you might be more, or you will be more efficient in your training if you incorporate rest days. So you can't think, oh no, I'm working so hard because I train 7 days a week, 365. It's actually less efficient. So maybe it is less efficient to completely go cold turkey on every single nice food option in the world because you're doing a prep. But it's more effective actually to have a slightly more flexible, as you said, like burger every fortnight or whatever, where it's still controlled, still structured, still measured.
So structuring in those burger nights, also structured in time with friends, time with family.
Because you can still go to a braai and make your burger.
You take your meal with you, you prep it. Like when we came over to braai at your place, when we left, yes, it wasn't 100% tracked, but I still tracked more or less, and I gauged.
And you would have tracked obviously far stricter if it was...
If it was a prep, I probably would have brought something with me and actually measured like, Jess, this is my meal. I need to have this. We're going to braai that. But I wasn't in a prep. Lan wasn't in a prep at the time. And for us, it was, okay, we had this much meat. We had this much carbohydrates, this much fats from the garlic bread or whatever it was. Tracked it in, woke up the next day. I didn't pick up any weight. She didn't pick up any weight. She dropped weight, in fact. So it was probably beneficial for her to have that bit of a rest day. She was slightly over on a meal, on her fat goal. I was slightly over on my carb goal, but that was fine. Previously, I would have freaked out. It was fine. I had a great workout the next day, and I recovered, rested. Sleep was amazing, and I got to spend time with friends.
And also that freak out then spikes cortisol. Then it has even more of a negative effect. And that's why the mindset around food is so important. We've been speaking about mindset around food for a while now. So obviously you mentioned you're engaged, bro, and I've had a failed engagement. So how was that, proposing? Because were you nervous?
See, the thing is, Alana came out of nowhere. I met her at a friend's braai, and we kind of just hit it off as friends. She first ignored me completely, and I chose to pursue her as a friend, nothing more. And then we started hanging out
Craig,
together.
I want to push back on that. Pursue her as a friend and nothing more. Do you think men can be friends with girls without there being some sort of like, oh, I really wish I could be with this girl? Like, even if it's just for one night. I don't think men can be friends with a woman without in some way wanting something from them. Not friendship. Like, no man is a friend with a girl for the companionship. There's always slightly some sort of interest beyond that.
So I thought she was very attractive, obviously. I mean, I'm engaged to her.
Yeah, but let's be honest. If you saw she was keen, would then you have just pursued it as a friendship?
No.
Like if outright you saw, okay, no, this girl wants me, would you have just been like, no, I just want to be friends, let's see where it goes? Or would you be like, okay, cool, let me push a little bit more in terms of the romantic way?
That's the way that it happened. Was she didn't tell me that she was interested at the same time, and I just thought she was very attractive. So I took a shot, and we started hanging out more. We went on hikes together. I got her to train at My Fitness instead of training at Planet Fitness.
Okay, so does a guy that's friends with a girl do all of these things with no other intentions?
Clearly not. So I guess I told myself that because of my failed relationships, to protect myself.
You're trying to protect yourself from the disappointment or the
whatever might have happened.
Yes.
But deep down, yes, probably romantic Craig was like, this is the goal. Go for it. You're fully attracted to her. Go all out. And a little bit kept coming out every now and then. It was buying her flowers every now and then, or checking up with her, visiting her on the farm.
If someone is friends with her, right? A man, a guy,
Yeah.
friends with her, and he buys her flowers. You as a guy, would you be like, no, he's just friends with her. It's cool.
No. I'm gonna freak out. Obviously,
Yeah.
like I'd fight back on that. Ask
Yeah,
her,
yeah.
why is he buying you flowers, etc.
How are you that? Obviously, you trust her.
Yes.
So if a guy's friends with her, like you're not going to be like whatever and have an issue with it. But how are you in terms of, I know that guy's true intentions. I'm not threatened by him, but I'm just like, I know
You
what he
wary.
wants.
So the thing is, we have a whole bunch of male friends in the friend group.
Yeah, but they're also friends with you.
And they're also friends with me.
Yeah. So it's not like some guy from her past
Yes.
that she went to school with is best mates to her and they're always talking on the phone and stuff. Like, do you think that's kind of weird?
That would be weird.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about Lan is that she respects my past and I respect hers. So I don't have friends like that I will chat to on the daily.
You're not going to, if you, like, as men, we know, if you're talking to a girl every single day that's not your partner, like
There's
that's
something wrong.
There's something there.
Exactly.
That's wrong. It's 100% wrong. So for a guy to do it to your chick, you know his
Exactly.
her intentions might be perfectly fine, actually thinking he wants to be friends, but you
Yes.
know that guy's intentions.
And she understands it that way. So she respects the relationship that way, which is nice, which is where you asked, how did it go? How did the proposal go? I knew after 3 months of dating her that I wanted to marry her. And we started speaking about engagement at that point already. We started speaking about, can we afford it? Can we get married? Can we move in together?
all the questions that you
things.
know, okay, she wants to.
And also, is this going to work for marriage, or is it just wasting our time and we need to go our separate ways to find someone we want to be married to? Because both of us wanted that.
Which, before you get married, before you get engaged, are important questions to ask each other.
Exactly. Like, I don't think any guy wants to waste his time for 20, 30 years with someone that he's spending every day with. They're staying together. They might have kids together or pets together to start up with. Like in your case as well, you had pets. It becomes very difficult. So to invest that much time, you want to propose.
Yeah,
you want to
yeah,
get married. So you have to ask those questions. So it was scary for me, not in the sense that she was going to say no, because I knew she was going to say yes. It was more, was I doing this the right way? Did I go down the right way?
It's the proposal thing. It's not that, will she say yes or no? It's,
Yes.
I'm proposing. Like, there's so much stigma around a proposal.
So I was nervous about that.
Yeah.
I wasn't nervous about anything else. I was nervous about that. I mean, I set up a tripod and my camera. So I had my camera on one side and I had my cell phone on the other to try and get both angles. And it took her 13 minutes to get out of bed. So I was recording blank space
Did
for 13 minutes.
she walk out and see the cameras?
No, I hid them. Everything was hidden. She didn't know what was going on. I think she had a feeling because it happened Christmas morning. And the way I played it off was, and she knows family is very important to me, but I played it off. Christmas is my day. I've got special presents for you that I didn't share at my parents' place with you. We didn't open these, and I'm really excited to open them. And I want you to open them like it's a big deal. So when she opened up her present, inside said, I don't want to be your boyfriend anymore. Please turn around. And I was on my knee. But I didn't know if I timed that correctly, and that's what I was nervous about. It was more, is she going to see me going down on my knee? Because I don't want it. I wanted to be surprised. And my brother jokes all the time. He's like, one, you looked very nervous in the video. And two, she didn't get big enough of, like, she wasn't as excited. But I know her, and I could see her excitement. She just isn't extrovert like that. So it was great for us. It was a great experience, and we celebrated it in Namibia when we went
Very cool.
afterwards, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's a big thing. And how are you in terms of, because obviously you mentioned the communication of, are we ready? Do you want to do this type of thing? Like all of that. How important, because obviously you just recently got engaged and obviously you plan on getting married, like the money aspect, how important is it for you as soon to be a married couple, the communication around money? Because you're going to be spending the rest of your lives together. Like, how's that for you?
So we moved in together pretty soon. And from the get-go, money was a topic. Like, I'm not going to dive deep into her past relationship, but to keep a summary, financially, she was abused. And she had to pay way more than what she could. And I find that very unfair. And for a man
Especially
to impose
for
that.
a man to say that.
So it hurt me more than it hurt her. And I know it hurt her a lot, but more from the man section. Like, I understand
where it's
some
like
men.
anger at him.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then obviously feel sorry for her for having to go through that. Yeah.
So when we started dating, I didn't expect anything from her. The only thing we discussed was, if you buy groceries and toiletries for the house, I've got the rest. I do bring in more salary than you, so like, don't stress about it. Like, I've got us. And now it's not, I make this amount, she makes this amount. It's, we make this amount as a household. I'm saving this amount for myself, and for us, it's going into a savings fund. You saving this amount for yourself, and this much is going into that same saving fund for a wedding, for a holiday, for whatever it is. But then we've got certain expenses that need to come off of a debit card. So you're going to cover groceries and toiletries and stuff that, yes, it's expensive, but it's easier to manage. And I'm going to cover the bigger things. I mean, we just bought a car now. So yes, it's my car, but it's still an expense for both of us. It's an expense for the household. So we're very open when it comes to finances. It's very...
Yeah, I think that's very important. Yeah. Just basing it off relationships of friends around me recently. Well, they've been in relationships for a while, but recently I've more noticed that it's just, there's no real communication around money and communication. And there was definitely from my part in my previous relationship, a lack of communication around money. Okay. But it was, I don't know if it was, like, I guess maybe because I wasn't so sure about the relationship. So it was, I was covering everything. So it was, I'm covering everything. Why do you have to know how much I'm earning type of thing, you know? I'm paying for everything. Like, I don't think it's fair for you to have access into everything or see or know everything if you're not contributing. Yeah. Like, even if your contribution is 5% of my contribution, then it's fine.
Yes.
But if you expect all of this financial contribution, like, I don't think it's fair for you to know then how much money I'm earning type of thing.
Okay.
But I think, and that was also, because it was so long ago, I was like 25 maybe when like the relationship, I can't even remember when it ended, but like a 5-year period where it was all on me. And definitely learning from that, going into relationships and seeing other relationships and seeing like how good my parents' relationships is about full transparency about income and all of that stuff. Like, it has to be that way. Yep. You have to have your relationship being completely transparent about the money aspect with no shame, no guilt, and just complete open and honesty. Because if you can't have that honesty about how much money you earn or how much you're willing to contribute or whatever, how is the relationship going to work?
I think that it's also respecting. Like, obviously she was earning a salary because she went to work. Did she expect it from you?
No.
Or did you expect it being a man?
No, so because I did. She was also studying. She never really expected me to, but because I always just did, then it just got to a point where it was, if there's any financial thing, I would cover it. Okay. So I was kind of just this, and it was very immature. It was kind of just this unspoken thing of, if we go out for dinner, JC would probably pay. If like all the groceries JC was paying for, but she was studying. So she didn't have a job. Okay. And then actually she started working a little bit for me. Then I was paying her salary and then paying for everything.
I see.
So then it was kind of just like, I'm doing everything, Yeah. I'm paying you a salary and I'm paying for everything. Like, now you're getting a salary. Surely maybe some of that should contribute, even though
it's money is looping back. It's the principle.
But it's the principle. But I might cut that out. I don't know. Maybe. No. But yeah, it was kind of just from my part, me never maybe saying like, okay, let's have this conversation. Yes. And we were both young. So also from her, it's like, well, we're never going to have this conversation. He's paying for everything. This is awesome.
Yeah, it's a cool ride.
Like, we know, like with our parents, when we were young, it was, okay, cool. They're going to pay for that. Lekker. Nice. That's cool. Yes. Let's not question that. Yes. Oh, my dad surprised me with this. That's cool. Don't question why he did that, why he was nice. Like, And I think it was maybe just that where it was like, this is working for me. I'm not spending any money. Any money I do make, I get to save. So let me not question about contribution. Yeah.
So I think that's a big thing that my parents also showed me was like, I didn't know. As I got older, like I kind of understood what my mom was earning and what my dad was earning and their dynamic. But it was always mom and dad know what they're earning. Mom and dad know dad's paying for this, mom's paying for this. And we could physically see that and they'd speak to us about it. And they would spoil us every now and then. And like you said, it's like, oh, this is nice. But when I was in matric and early years of varsity, I started working, earning my own salary, started paying for a bunch of my own stuff. And I understood finances and I understood how to manage that because of the way my parents' relationship worked. And my previous relationships, I was the exact same. If we go out for dinner, it's not, can I get this round? It's Craig's paying. And it's, oh no, my friends are coming with, Craig's paying.
And they look at you like you're the parent.
Yes.
Where it's like, come on, dad, pay.
Exactly. And you don't want to, like at that point, I didn't want to feel like I can't pay when it's like,
and then you
I
don't
need to take
be
this
a
out
fight.
of savings.
You don't want to be
at
at a fight where then you ask, well, maybe it's your turn.
Yeah, you don't want to make a scene about it. So I would pay. And now, when I went into it, it was, I understand where you came from. You understand where I'm coming from. And this is a difficult conversation to have. And I understand maybe it's a trigger for you and you might cry, but it's okay. I'm not judging you. Let's discuss it.
Because it's going to be worse. The crying or the discomfort is going to be way worse when there's a fight or when there's...
It's a bigger thing.
Yeah.
So I guess you have to bring it. That was memory card full.
Oh, it's fine. It's still the wide one.
Yeah. You have to bring it up front. I feel that if you don't, then you're going to have problems.
Fault. It's your fault.
If it fails.
Fails later or there's a big blow up or whatever.
Yeah, I 100% agree. But it also looks bad when you have kids one day. If you have kids one day. Mom and dad are fighting or mom and dad don't know what, like, imagine you go out.
And the kids feel like they're the burden.
Yes.
Like the kids didn't choose to be born, but now because you're having financial issues because of poor management or just no communication of money or whatever between the parents, the kid then feels bad and is like, well, I'm alive. They're paying for me. This is all my fault. But it's actually the parents' poor planning or lack of communication that's the issue.
It's like when your parents took you out for dinner, you and your brother. Mom would pay one day, dad would pay one day. It was an unspoken thing. Same thing with my parents. Mom would pay one day, dad would pay one day. Maybe dad pays twice this weekend, mom pays twice next weekend. But it was never an argument. It was never, oh, but I paid this or I did this.
And then it's like maybe your dad takes out his card, your mom's like, no, it's fine. Let me pay for this one. It's my treat. Or if it's like I know my mom always really wanted to pay for the birthdays. And it was less about the money thing. It was just that she felt special paying for that particular meal because it was a birthday and like it was nice for her to do that.
It brought joy to her.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how we want to do certain things. Like she sent me a message today, I got you a gift. And I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, no, your gift's with me.
How much money did you spend?
So like in my head, I'm like, oh, we've got a wedding and blah, blah, blah. But also I've learned, like being with her, I've learned to understand that people want to gift you things and it's okay to accept them. You're not the burden. And it came from their finances, not yours. You can't control their finances. If that came from our fund, then it's like how much are you actually spending of that fund?
As long as she's still putting that amount that she wants to save at the end of the month and she's maybe allocated a little bit of her personal spending money towards your gift, I mean, then there's no issue.
And I've had to learn to understand that. That's a big thing in the relationship where when it comes to finances, and probably a lot of people out there do the same thing, but I don't like accepting gifts. I don't like accepting things because why are you spending this money that you could have spent on yourself on me? And the smile that people get giving you the gift.
Did you grow up relatively privileged and getting what you pretty much needed from your parents?
I never struggled. Let's put it that way.
Because I definitely also, I didn't get spoiled, but I definitely, whatever I needed, I was able to get. Like if I needed a cricket bat,
or
it wouldn't be the most
shoes.
Expensive cricket bat, but it would still be a new cricket bat.
Yeah.
If my running spikes broke, my dad's like, well, we can't not run the spikes. Like we're going to have to spend the money. So I think maybe growing up with getting what you needed now, because so when you're young, you don't understand finances really.
Yes.
You don't understand like how much your parents sacrifice for you. And then now, as you've grown up and you understand the sacrifice that it takes to spend money on someone. Sometimes, you then feel bad. It's like, no, don't spend that money on me. Spend it on yourself. Save it or whatever.
That happened in matric, because since matric I stopped accepting gifts. My parents would always ask me, what do you want for your birthday? It was, we can go out for dinner. Like you don't have to give me anything.
Don't waste money on me.
Like we can get something for dinner. And then my mom would always come with a gift card, or my dad would buy me something new for the bicycle, or he'd buy me a new supplement, or my brother would give me something for Christmas. And I'm like, I understand how much this cost, and it means a lot to me that you did that, but it's difficult for me to accept this because I knew how much it cost.
And that's also the thing, is kind of the maturity of understanding, as you mentioned, the gift that someone's giving you. Yes, maybe you gain something by receiving a gift, but sometimes it's actually more for that person to be able to give you something.
Yes, it's a success thing on their part.
Yeah.
And that's what I've had to learn.
That's how they show love. And yeah.
So it's not always like when people talk about love languages, it's my love language might be...
What is your love language?
Physical touch and words of affirmation.
Yeah.
So just understanding that person still loves me and cares for me, like just hearing that every now and then, that's my love language. Her love language is very similar, and it is sometimes gifts, which is not a problem. It's someone's love language. But she's not a gold digger. Like she's not you didn't get me this month or that. But if I gave her the gift, it's for her. It was like, whoa.
Yes. And it's like a gift doesn't have to be you buying her a new phone.
It could be a flower.
Yeah, it could be a flower. Just some sort of thing that you give her to show I was thinking about you.
That's a big thing. And I had to learn that my love language is not the same as others. So if someone gives me something, it's not that they're giving me my love language back. It's that I'm accepting their love language because they wanted to gift me something. And that was a big shift in our relationship as well, was because I would never accept things. It would be very difficult for me to do that. And it changed. And the whole finance thing changed. It was, that's your money that you spent. That's not our money that you spent. And it's fine. Like, it's cool. So I think that's the only fight that we had financially. And that's where the open communication comes from. So,
I think communication is the biggest thing that you have to have in relationships about everything.
We wouldn't be where we are today, competing together, being able to stand on stage, diet, if we didn't communicate. So, like, everything comes down to that communication, just being open and honest. And you probably had that in yours as well, but then it got to a point where life got busy.
Yeah, there was communication to an extent. Then beyond that, there were certain aspects of the relationship that weren't communicated, and that's what made it fail. Yeah. Whereas if there was a complete, full line of communication, it wouldn't have failed. Most relationships can work.
Yes.
If there's just good communication and good, maybe patience and understanding the other person's viewpoint and being open to receive a little bit of criticism at times.
Yes.
And just communicating how you feel, allowing them to communicate how they feel.
I saw a podcast, and I don't know why it made me think of you, but I saw a podcast and you probably went through this. And the guy said, you don't need counseling. You don't need to pay for family therapy and things like that. You guys go away, put the phones away, no technology, take a couple of books, sit together and talk for a week.
Or actually be present together.
Just talk. If it doesn't work out in those 7 days, you know it's not going to. Because you removed all distractions. You removed work. You removed any social interaction. It was just the two of you. If you come back and it worked and there were things that you realized and picked up together that I didn't like that or I don't like that, you communicate it and you move on and you work and you grow.
Yeah.
But don't waste the time.
That's a very good viewpoint, because I once went away. I'll try to be as less descriptive as possible so no one can know who it was. But I went away with a girl and it was 3 days. And once we were there, the person that she was just didn't align with the girl that I want in my life. Like, it was kind of more in the bush, slightly less luxurious. And it was, I could see like she was kind of uncomfortable. Not everything was up to standards. And it was like it wasn't a great time. And I always found myself thinking, okay, like what do we do now? While we eat, let's watch that show, because there was no communication. It was just like, what can we do to pass the time better to get this weekend over with?
Okay.
And that's just a clear viewpoint of this is not going to work.
Yeah. Because, I mean, in those 3 days, if you guys...
I just wanted to rush through the 3 days. With trying to put technology or put events or activities there so that we can just be doing something, because when we're sitting doing nothing, talking, it was kind of just like...
It was awkward. Yeah. The thing is, you need to have the activities and bond together in whatever activity, go ziplining or whatever it is, mountain biking. And when you come back, it's a nice conversation to have, because it then leads into other things.
Yeah.
It leads into other conversation. But if the thing is put in place to avoid the conversation, there's a problem.
Yeah.
Because then you're avoiding communication. It was kind of just
putting the hike in place, or putting the let's go into town in place, so that there's something to do, so I didn't have to completely be alone with her type of thing, where it was just like me sitting there. I would actually rather not be here.
Yeah.
Then it's like, how's this relationship going to work?
Yeah, exactly. Completely understand. Yeah. I've had
Craig,
a couple of those.
That's a good podcast. Hour and 12-ish minutes.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate you coming on.
Thank you for having me eventually.
Yeah, I'm glad, bro.
We'll probably line up a couple.
I'm cutting this now just because I haven't eaten yet today. I'm starving.
You have to. What's the time? Yeah, it's my meal time now.
And I trained legs this morning. Yeah, bro, we have to put our lives around our meal times.
Yeah, like 100%. I had 2 today, so I'm 2 up on you. No, 3. I've had 3 for the day so far. It's fine.
My meal now will probably be the same amount of calories you've had in those 2.
How
many calories have you had today? Well, now after this third meal, roughly?
1,200.
Okay.
Yeah. So after the third meal will be 1,200.
Yeah, I'll probably eat that now.
One meal.
I actually need to go past the shops to buy food. I don't even have food at home. But I'll have probably like 500 grams of I'm really enjoying venison patties now.
Oh, they're great.
Bro, and they're lean.
Oh, the taste.
I literally just take them, put them in the air fryer. So that's like 400 grams because there's 4.
Yeah.
So let's say, even though they're lean, let's say it's like 700 calories, 800 calories roughly for that. I always just overestimate just in case.
Yes.
And then I'll have, I don't know what I'm going to have for a side. I'm probably going to make like a coleslaw. I just take
That'd be nice. Mayo.
Yeah, not really mayo. So I just take the unmixed cabbage and
from Willie's, the coleslaw mix.
Like that mix. And I'll just put sweet chili in there. I'll cut up an avo.
Ooh.
I cut up an avo, put it in the coleslaw, and then I'll take like maybe a handful of almonds.
Okay.
So there's like no carbs in that really, because
high fats.
Other than the
cabbage.
12 grams of carbs that's in an avo or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
So like that'll be that meal. So I'll roughly do like 1,200, and then I won't eat again until this evening.
Okay.
And then this evening I'll probably have like another 500 grams of I know I've got chicken in my freezer, but it's like with the skin on and everything. So I'll have that, and then maybe some couscous or something. So one meal's always got carbs. So
you have to for performance.
Yesterday it was my lunch meal that had carbs.
Yeah.
Then because I gymmed in the morning and then I was going for a run in the evening, so I'm like, okay, let me have the carbs in between. And then this morning I did legs, so maybe it also would have been better to have carbs last night so that my legs are fueled. But I mean,
you play around with it and find what works.
Yeah, it's 6 of the one, half the dozen of the other. I think that's the, what is that? The correct
think that's the saying. Yeah,
because one of them at one point isn't going to have as much carbs in it.
Exactly.
But now maybe I have carbs for lunch since I did legs this morning and I'm running 10Ks this evening.
Okay. Well.
So yeah, but I'll let you know.
Okay. Awesome. And
Sweet,
send pictures of your meal.
Yeah, I appreciate you coming on, bro.
Cool. Thank you.
Awesome. Cheers, guys. Cheers.